Djala was virtually found in a cooking pot in a village in Africa, and he was saved by a helicopter pilot who landed and saw a whole lot of villagers in the middle of the village, and he landed his helicopter and he saw that they were literally about to cook him.
And he was very little, wasn't he? I mean, he was only just a few months old, and his entire family had been killed by hunters. His entire family had been slaughtered, and very fortunately, this helicopter pilot bought him and paid for him and took him home. And he very luckily ended up with us at Howlett's. And you've reared him, pretty much hand-reared him into this majestic silverback that he is now. What was that journey like?
It was, well, we were very fortunate that he was able to cope and actually ended up with a wonderful family, because often when they're so stressed, very like human children, if they get very traumatized when they're young, they end up developing bad habits. But he's been fantastic, so we're very fortunate. Yeah,
and you've had a very important year this year, haven't you? Because I know you've returned many gorillas to the wild, but you decided to return an entire family, which is Djala, who has many wives, lucky man, and many children. What was that process like? I mean, you're kind of like their father. It must have been very daunting for you.
Which actually is a wonderful thing for me. I find it makes sense in my head. The idea of keeping them in captivity forever and if effectively jailed for life doesn't really make sense to me. So the idea that we can send them home is fantastic, but the whole process is riddled with stress and problems, as you can imagine.
Because you literally have to put them in, I think we've got some pictures now actually, you put them in these great big cages and you transport them over there. What was that like?
You have to dart them, they get very stressed, you've got to put them on a lorry, then they've got to get on a plane, then they've got to get on helicopters. I mean, it's a 24-hour journey non-stop. Very, very difficult and logistically almost impossible.
And this is an island in Africa, isn't it? Which is part of your conservation property, if you like. And there's some amazing footage of when Djala's released. And I mean, he is just the most beautiful animal, isn't he? And it must have been an incredibly emotional moment for you as well.
I mean, it's an amazing thing to see. A gorilla that was almost slaughtered, saved, brought to England, developed a family, and then you see his first walk on African soil again.
And there he is.
There's no one else in the world that would do anything like this, and to me that's a beautiful thing.
I mean,
he could be stuck in my wildlife park in Kent, and he's living free now.
So he's there with his 4 wives and plenty of children. How's he getting on? First Christmas away from you.
I know. I think he's happy. Honestly, I think they're so happy. I don't think they miss us at all, and they seem healthier than they've ever been and more balanced than they've ever been. So it's a wonderful thing to see.
You've had a very extraordinary and unusual upbringing. I know your childhood, you were almost semi-raised by surrogate gorillas, and we've got some extraordinary footage of your eldest daughter, Tansy, who I mean, she's got an amazing relationship with animals too. Some people were a bit controversial about this. They weren't sure whether it was safe or not, but you always thought it was very safe.
I understand why people can think that, but they've got to believe that I know what I'm doing and I know the nature of these animals. So, but I can understand why people might think it's controversial.
Do you think that, well, maybe not you and your family, but the rest of us have lost our connection with animals?
I don't think everybody has. I think that as a species, we're the superpower on the planet, and I think as a superpower, we owe it to the rest of the planet to treat it with dignity.